tonight suggests that they were, that our intelligence folks were really worried about what he was doing, well before he became the national security advisor. It suggests that's the reason that, and I think I've been told this before, that President Obama warned off incoming President Trump about hiring him, and now he's central to trying to understand, what was there collusion? This suggests there was more collusion than we thought, and there's more evidence building up. It's not dispositive. It doesn't settle things. Still early. But I'll tell you this, that it also, for a long time we were asking, why is Donald Trump so solicitous of Vladimir Putin? And now we have the second question, why has he been so solicitous of Michael Flynn? And we really need the answers to those questions.
Yeah, Friedman, and seems to continue to, and whether it's loyalty or I don't know what, continue to think fondly of Michael Flynn, despite his lying to the vice president and despite this underlying activity, which Sally had said there was illegality there.
Yeah, and there's something, the more you learn about Michael Flynn, the more worrying his behavior is on multiple fronts. So you've discussed this whole Russia angle, but there's another entire angle, which is Turkey. Michael Flynn was essentially hired by the Turkish government as a paid lobbyist and started to present himself as an independent analyst.
Right, writing op-eds.
Was writing an op-ed asking for the very thing that the president of Turkey, Erdogan, has been pressing, which is that the United States essentially hand over this 80-year-old cleric who lives in Pennsylvania, who is an enemy of Erdogan. So Flynn writes an op-ed, not explaining that he's being paid by the Turkish government to do this. So to the question of could Flynn have been bought? Could his views have been influenced by cash payments? We sort of have an example in Turkey where it does certainly seem as though that happened. And we know that once he was in the administration, he was advising that Gulen be deported. So that seems to me a very a worrying connection. This is a guy who foreign governments have already hired and who has passed himself off as an independent national security expert, just assessing the merits of it. And as you say, then you have the strange reality that Trump, who is not super loyal to people who have not been with him for a long time. Think of how he has been treating Steve Bannon recently. But he's been very loyal to Michael Flynn.
David, the New York Times reporting that the president called FBI director a nut job and that firing him eased, quote, great pressure. What do you make of that? Is that something the president should be saying to the Russians in the Oval Office?
Well, the nut job, of course, is beneath the presidency, but I think the more significant point is the one Jeffrey Toobin has been underlying tonight, and that is this adds a new evidence to the point that the president essentially, look, what is the pattern here? I think patterns are emerging. What the pattern here is, the president goes to Comey, the FBI director, and says, I need your loyalty, and Comey refuses to give it to him. Then a subsequent meeting, according to these reports from Comey, the president pressures him to let Flynn part of the investigation go. Comey doesn't do it. He refuses. The investigation deepened. And so what does the president do? He can't get Comey to drop it, so he fires Comey. And now he tells the Russians openly, not only was he a nut job, but I did this because I had a lot of pressure coming on me about the Russia. And the clear implication was, I have political pressure coming on me about these investigations. This thing is something I don't want. I want to get rid of it. And I fired the son of a gun. Right. And he was a nut job to boot. So,
we should also point out,
that new pieces of the puzzle that are very disturbing.
We should also point out, David, that before he even had the dinner where he asked for the loyalty oath, which, by the way, was, I believe, the night of the same day that Sally Yates went to the White House and said Flynn could be compromised. Oh, and Flynn was interviewed by the FBI and didn't do so well. That's the same night that the president decides to have dinner with Comey and ask for a loyalty pledge. The president had also, according to reporting, already called up Flynn, had already called up Comey, basically to ask about, being under investigation.
Yeah, so I just think the pieces of the puzzle are falling into place. We still need to give the president, his fair day in court. He needs to be able to, his side needs to be able to present the evidence. But nonetheless, the way this is breaking with these selected leaks paints a very dark picture. And I think that it suggests, I argued here the other night, we're in impeachment territory. And now we know the White House lawyers are investigating how impeachments take